And welcome back to the Engage 8 podcast on a Friday morning here as this recording is going on, joined by Robby. Robby, how's it going? Looks like you just got out of the shower.
Yeah, just got out of the shower, ready to go, man. Little Friday morning recording.
Yeah,
Something new we've done here on the Engage 8 podcast, but hey, let's do it,
I
man.
think we've had
We
like
got a big
one
week.
one other like day recording.
Right. Yeah, I think so too.
All right, yeah, let's get right into the swing of things. The first game, obviously, Texas versus Oklahoma, probably the biggest matchup of the day. It's going to be right at noon, the Red River Showdown. It's
Right. This game
or
is gonna be so interesting, in my opinion.
or will it be like every other years and be the Red River Shootout? I don't
Yeah,
think so.
it's
I
I
really
don't I
think
don't
so.
know. It's hard to tell because the Oklahoma we've been used to has been, well, besides last year. The Oklahoma we've been used to has, Heisman caliber quarterback and just a high powered offense with tons of good receivers and no defense, right?
Right.
Even throw in some good running backs there. And then Texas, always just shows up for this game, but it's kind of flip flop this year. Texas has got the big stars on offense with Quinn Ewers, Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, and then Brooks and Baxter. But the counter to the fact that maybe this isn't a shootout is Texas has a defense.
Right.
Oklahoma has a defense. Oklahoma has some great players, Andre Anthony, Dylan Gabriel, to highlight a few. But I don't know, man. This might not be the 110-point total that we're used to. I'm not gonna lie.
What is the over under on this game? It is 61.
Right, three touchdown or that's about what, five? No, it's like four touchdowns,
It's
maybe.
like 30 each, so like four or five touchdowns depending
Yeah,
on how the game goes.
I uh, I think it's accurate. I think
Yeah.
that's
I think, well, yeah, obviously that's why they they put it there. But no, my evaluation of this game is I really like this Texas receiving core. I really like the running backs, especially Brooks. Brooks is like a pretty sure like a top 10 rusher in the country right now in terms of rushing yards.
and
And
probably yards per carry. I mean, I think he's
right,
got
yeah.
like 7 yards per carry.
I don't know if Jatavion Sanders is playing or not in this game. He got hurt against Kansas last week, and same with Watts, one of the corners. So, and I don't really know how good that secondary really is because they really, if you look at their schedule, they have not been tested all year. Like the most competent passing game they've probably played is probably Alabama, but
Right.
or
Like Andre Anthony's gonna be the best receiver these cornerbacks have faced all year,
right,
which
yeah.
is just crazy to think about. But there's no diss on him. It's just
Yeah, it's just they haven't played like
nobody.
anyone's, yeah, really talented. Oklahoma, I'm not picking them to win this game. I got the horns down on this one, but if Oklahoma were to win this game, they kind of have to stay true to their defensive identity. They've been very aggressive all year with blitzing
Mm-hmm.
and trying to cause havoc, get pressure early. And Quinn Ewers is if you look at the statistics, he's not good under pressure. I mean, most quarterbacks aren't unless you're like Caleb Williams, but
Right.
but no, that's what they're going to have to do. And I think their defense is solid enough where they can cover downfield a little bit. They're probably going to get burned here or there. Like this receiving core is disgusting, but
It's truly just
they got to try.
remarkable.
They really do got to neutralize it with pressure and, forcing like maybe 3 yards a carry, like keeping it pretty low. And then offensively, I mean, they got running backs and they got receivers. I'm not the biggest Dylan Gabriel fan, but he does enough and they can catch Texas's defense off guard. Like there's a shot that Oklahoma wins. I just think they have to do too much right to win this game. And I think
Yeah.
Texas defensively, and they're gonna generate pressure all day. I really don't know how good this Oklahoma offensive line is either. That's
Yeah.
one thing that has
Tavondre Sweat's gonna show, I think, a lot of people that, yeah, Oklahoma is going,
I mean
there's a lot
he's
of
got
holes in
yeah,
this
and
game.
he's also got Anthony Hill too, who's a dog as well. So
Yeah,
eh,
both of them are just they're balling out. I think your point of the defensive identity of Oklahoma being the blitz, I think that screws them. I truly do. This team is going to be able to run the football. We know that, but the fact that they're going to have play action at their fingertips all the time to be able to just run and bait this team, bait these blitzes. Like you said, Quinn Ewers not the greatest under pressure, but when you can have play action work as efficiently as they have all year, especially on a team that's blitzing, it's over, man. You're gonna get one-on-ones with some of the best receivers in the country. You don't leave AD Mitchell
Hey,
one-on-one.
Xavier Worthy cannot put catch in contested coverage.
No, but
First,
AD
but
Mitchell,
yeah, no, but I mean Xavier Worthy is such a good route runner that like he.
yeah, and he's too fast.
Yeah.
That's the problem is most cornerbacks just can't keep up
I
with
I
that.
would if Sanders. I think like if Sanders were to play, I think this would be like a huge breakout game for him. That kid's so fucking good.
He is. No, the kid's ridiculous.
He's
I
my
truly
he.
do hope we see him to be, because this like you said is the platform. This is the stage that he's going to break out on. We see it every year, man. This Red River Showdown always brings out somebody. The most famous was the now reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, who came in to make arguably one of the greatest comebacks that this rivalry has ever seen.
Yeah,
But it's every year, man. Every year we see someone break out. I think it was it CD Lamb as a freshman when he
yeah, I
broke
think
out in this
so.
game too, when he
Yeah,
went for
I
like
mean this is
200.
just this is where like the stars, show
Stars of the Big
out.
12 show up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Funny little thing. I just got a notification. The Bears are trading Chase Claypool to the Dolphins.
Wow, a little breaking news here on the talk about a team that, doesn't need a receiver. Yeah, yeah. That's the end for Chase Claypool. Hey, speaking of Chase Claypool, his alma mater is next up on the list.
Yeah, Notre
Notre
Dame
Dame,
versus
Louisville.
Louisville. All right, so if you can't tell, I have the Card sweatshirt on.
Let's go, baby.
Came in the mail yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts literally I wrote down as I think everyone and their grandma knows how I feel about this Cardinals team. Like they really, now that Michigan State sucks, like this team really kind of has my full
Go
attention.
Cards, baby.
Yeah.
Go Cards.
I will say though that this Notre Dame defense, like, kind of, I don't know how well Louisville's offensive line and like because they couldn't run the ball against NC State. Jawar Jordan had 2.5 yards per carry, and that's just like not ideal from his,
Yeah, but
really good stats. I mean, that's a really tough place to play. NC State's kind of like a nitty gritty team this year, and like we'll get into their game later and why it might be a potential upset pick, but no, in all honesty, I do like this Notre Dame team still. It's just Louisville's kind of won in every situation so far this year in close games, in blowouts, having a lead, having a team come back and still being able to maintain it. Like they've kind of played in every single situation, and that's something that I kind of like. And Notre Dame, they've been like, it's going to be one of the Notre Dame game the past 2 weeks when they've played like competition, similar, or maybe they're a little bit more talented than it's been ugly. And Louisville's already won ugly a couple of times this year. So,
yeah, man, I couldn't say it better myself, to be honest with you. Notre Dame is kind of playing down to their competition sometimes, but in a way that, like, not saying that Ohio State is below them, but like Ohio State didn't play their best game, yet Notre
no,
Dame was playing at the same level. It was just like, what an opportunity, to go off. They got Marvin Harrison down, like McCord's just not looking, once again, not looking good. And it just seemed like Notre Dame was like, oh, okay, like you guys are gonna play bad. We can take let's relax here. Like we got this, right? Let's just maintain a touchdown lead. It's like I just could not. And then they're making the mistakes at the end of the game with how many players in the field. It's just like stuff like that kind of showed the true colors of this Notre Dame team, that they're
yeah.
really not as prepared for the big stage as we thought
Yeah,
they were.
I don't think it's a physical preparation for this team because obviously this team's
Nope.
one of the most talented. It's more of a mental aspect.
Yep.
And I don't know, man. I'm riding Cards. I really do like this offense. I think defensively, like they've been able to put stops up on teams. So
Yeah.
even if they haven't been the greatest offenses, it doesn't matter. Like they get the job done.
And
So
how many of the receivers for Notre Dame are coming back? Do we know?
I do not have a read. I can check the injury report real quick
Yeah, let's hit that up because I think
for
that
you.
definitely plays a
Yeah,
factor.
that definitely does play a factor because I mean, like,
That was arguably one of the bigger, areas of concern as to Actually, not even areas of concern, just areas of reason to why they were playing as bad as they were, why Hartman wasn't looking as good as he was because he didn't have his guys.
We have the injury report on here.
Notre Dame is, I'm pretty sure, one of those teams that's famous for releasing it freaking an hour before the game.
Yeah. Let me check real quick. Yeah, no, Dame injury report. Yeah, we got
And it's in
uh
Louisville. That's another reason to think to side with the Cards. 6.5 favorites. It shows this is a team that's ranked 25th against a team that's ranked 10th, and they're not even touchdown favorites. I think that gives a lot of respect to this Louisville Cardinal team.
right.
Just the talent that they bring, and honestly, the fact that Notre Dame. I don't know if it's more of the fact that this team is talented or that Notre Dame they're catching them at the right time. I personally think it's talent. I think Louisville
All
truly
right,
is.
4 days ago. So it looks like that Jane Thomas and they will get two wide receivers back in Jaden Thomas and Jaden Greathouse. So they'll be without, I'm pretty sure they're probably still going to be without Colsey then.
That's okay. I think those two receivers will give back a large part of the production that
Right,
Sam
but
Hartman's been
I
looking
mean,
for.
uh, does it really matter that much? Like they haven't really been able to, like if you look at that Ohio State game, when they play against decent corners, and I mean, I don't know how good Louisville's corners are to be quite frank with you. Like they haven't really also faced like a passing attack.
No,
And but I mean, we'll see. They do not like against Ohio State. I mean, give credit to Ohio State. I think they're finally returning to their DBU status, but they had like 4 receptions for 58 yards on the whole entire game in that Ohio State game, which is not what you want to see.
no, and it's true. I do think that I don't think when I look at that receiving core, I don't look at that and be like, oh my gosh, like we got guys that are going to go in the top 3 rounds on this team. I think they have a quarterback that could go in the top 3 rounds, but when you're
I
surrounded by
mean,
guys who,
Great House is the young receiver, right?
yeah,
Yeah, like that kid. I'm pretty sure like all the kids are like relatively young that are like playing, so like they got a lot of time to develop still. But
I
like,
don't know, man. I
yeah,
don't see him being all that. I think the combination of Sam Hartman being an
really
above
good.
average, yeah, like I would call him really good to above average college football quarterback, and having a top 3 offensive line in the country, that definitely helps. And having Estime be as good as he is, that kind of sets up the pass automatically.
Yeah,
So
and they have one of the best offensive lines too.
yeah, that's what I just said. Top three
Yeah,
offensive line in the country.
yeah,
But yeah,
like
no, it's true. Like this team, there's a lot of other factors that set it up, and but like we said, are they really ready for the big stage? They've played how many? This is what, the second ranked game they've played, or is this the third?
Notre Dame. I'm pretty sure it's going to be their second. I want to say. Oh no, it's their third because they played Ohio State then Duke. Yeah,
Then
so this
Duke,
is the
yeah,
and I mean they go to USC next week too. So
yeah,
they got a rough
quite
stretch here.
quite the stretch, and we're gonna see the identity,
Michigan
but I
can
feel like we already
never have
have.
a schedule like this. I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah, okay. What? Who are they playing next year?
I did no. Okay, yeah, no, the
Oregon,
schedule.
USC,
Texas.
Washington, Texas.
Dude, Michigan State plays no one next year, and it doesn't even matter.
That was by design. That was by design.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a segment on the whole this new age of college football and the way schedules are bringing. If we actually like it, I've heard a couple interesting takes on that, and I'll save all of that for another episode. So look forward to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well,
Anyways,
we'll it'll be an off-season conversation for sure.
absolutely,
All
absolutely.
right.
But yeah, I got Notre Dame. I think they will pull this out because they kind of need to if you're gonna go into USC and have this thing be an actual game. But I would not be surprised if the upset pick comes through and Louisville takes the dub.
Yeah. I mean, we all, like I said, all know how I feel about this Cards team. So you know who I'm picking. It's it's really not a question, to be
No,
honest. All right, let's move into one of the SEC, one of 3 SEC matchups highlighted on this week. Well, 4 if you wanted to look at 2024 because Texas, Oklahoma. Anyways,
Yeah, it's funny.
Kentucky, Georgia.
Dude, the whole
So,
country's gonna be watching this game. I'm
well,
sorry.
okay.
This is a big game.
I'm starting to believe that maybe because Georgia did this thing last year against Mizzou and Kent State where they just played around with their competition. Like South Carolina and Auburn, like I feel like it takes a little bit for a team like this that plays this kind of like slow style. Like I mean, look at Michigan in their first 4 games. If they would have played anyone that could have competed with them, it probably would have been a closer game than what it should be. That's why they probably have their schedule laid out the way it is because it takes time for a team to develop like that and get everything going, like get the right mesh points and everything within this offense. But what that being said, I think their team still looked a lot better than this team last year than this team this year, obviously. Like they should be able to they should be dominating a team like Auburn or like at least in those games that they played close in, like they were able to show out in the end and come away with like kind of in a fashion where you're like, okay, this team's still good
Yeah, like
against
the
South
garbage
Carolina.
time points and all that
Well,
stuff
not
for
even
sure.
that, just like the way they would come back and the way they would just shut everything down that the other
Yeah.
than the opposing team trying to do, like they haven't really done that. They kind of did it against South Carolina, but like is that really impressive with that offensive line and like
No, no, it's
and
not.
Auburn, like they played Auburn down to the wire, like literally is Brock Bowers, like, and I believe if Auburn has a decent passing attack, probably don't come back in that game, like,
No, we're gonna see the true identity. I will give you that, and I will never count this team out because, like you said, they've done this the past 2 years. They've won the national championship. It's slow,
but
slow, slow, and then oh, here's a ranked opponent. We're gonna beat them 65-0. It's like,
yeah,
oh, okay, they're here, but
I don't know
man,
though because I mean Auburn's rushing it. I think like Kentucky, seriously, I think Ray Davis and this Kentucky team's still going to be able to run the football like pretty effectively because they don't have a superstar defensive player in the front seven. Like they don't have a Nolan Smith and a Kobe Dean, Jalen
Jalen
Carter.
Carter,
Yeah, like I mean,
Jordan Davis, like yeah,
like literally
no.
probably the best player. Barry Alexander would probably be the best
I was just about to say
tackle.
that,
Yeah, on this
and he's at
team.
USC, so
Yeah,
it doesn't even matter.
yeah. Like if they had him, like I legitimately think he could be a game wrecker. But they don't have that type of player. Like
Nope.
their secondary is pretty good. Like
Mhm.
Bullard and them guys, like they're actually like a
They
really
play well, but it's not. I don't know. This is my this is my pick of the week. One of my picks of the week. I think Kentucky comes in
yeah.
and
It's football.
dominates.
Yeah,
Not,
I this is my second.
scoreboard might not show it, but I think
This is technically my second upset pick of the week too. I mean, Kentucky's a football school, not a basketball school anymore. So and
wow, here we go. Here we go.
we're gonna see that happen on Saturday. I do like I think it's actually like kind of possible for like Kentucky to like kind of, go like 10-2, 11-1 with this team. Like I do really like this team.
10-2, 11-1 would be quite the they gotta
I mean,
beat
if
you.
they could beat Georgia, like I don't see why not. I mean, looking at their remaining schedule, they play
It's
at
Mizzou, Tennessee, then they got the Bulldogs and Mississippi State, the Crimson Tide, the Cocks, and the Cardinals to finish off the season.
there's actually a kind of a tough schedule.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they got 4 straight weeks,
Okay, they'll
including
beat
Florida last
Tennessee
week.
though. Tennessee's like we saw what Florida did to Tennessee. They just ran the ball all over them, and
Yeah,
it just was ugly.
and we're gonna get to see
Mizzou,
Mizzou. We're gonna get to see the true identity of Mizzou this week too. Like,
yeah,
how good is this
let's
team?
let's get into that game. Mizzou versus LSU. Robbie, start off with your thoughts because I'm a little intrigued to hear what you have to say about this matchup.
So, I don't even believe that LSU should be ranked. To be quite honest with you,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're both on the
so
same page.
yeah, I don't think this is a football. I mean, it's a football game because it's the SEC. There's superstars on both teams. Luther Bolden or Luther in general is that dude. That kid is going to go so far in the NFL. Like I have this kid just being an absolute superstar, and he's going to expose If Keon Coleman, take what Keon Coleman did. That kid is waving at the sideline. Hey, I'm on this guy. Let me just get the football real quick. Let me go put up a couple tutties. That's what Luther Bolden's going to do. That's literally what's going to happen. Yes, Mizzou doesn't have the caliber of quarterback that Jordan Travis is. It's not going to matter. This secondary sucks. They're horrible. This team shouldn't be ranked, but they are for the sake of, ratings and all that. We will get it. I won't even start on that whole thing. Mizzou wins this football game. I think, what's the line? It's got to be, I know LSU's favorite somehow.
It's like, I want to say it's 3.5.
Hold on, I can get you that in 2 seconds. It's 4. LSU's favored by 4. Over under is 65.
I would bet yeah. I mean, I don't know. Okay. So my thoughts is Cook, Schrader, and Burden have been the stars for this Mizzou offense. It's kind of like a 3-headed monster a little bit. They all complement each other really well. And I think that's something that, Mizzou hasn't had in forever. They haven't had a quarterback, wide running back, wide receiver trio in quite some time. And LSU's secondary, we saw what if you have a decent passing game, take Ole Miss and take Florida State, for example. Those teams were able to absolutely beat the piss out of LSU because literally they cannot cover, and they're throwing 8 different corners out there because they're all similar because they all can't cover.
There will be no red shirts at cornerback this year because everyone on the depth charts played and probably burned the red shirt. It's that bad.
Yeah. And I mean, on paper, LSU's probably the more talented team. If we were to go depth, if we were to compare every single position, quarterback, running back, wide receivers, all the offensive line positions, all the defensive positions, special teams, LSU is definitely the more talented team on paper. However, I think they do have a superstar wide receiver, and I think he could explode for about 200 yards.
Yeah, this is going to be the caliber. We're going to really get to see this kid show out. I think it's going to be a receiving duel, to be honest. Malik Neighbors he's showing up every single week.
I mean, and Brian Thomas is really good too. I think both those LSU receivers honestly could be be first round picks.
And we saw Jaden Daniels finally show up in the passing game last week, but it's not going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really.
I think it's two score dub by Mizzou. You heard it.
I mean, even if like I said, this Mizzou team is battle tested as well. If you look at their game against Kansas State, probably a little bit worse than LSU in terms of talent, but they're still a relatively good team, and they should be ranked over LSU. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I don't know. I think this team's gonna actually I think this Mizzou team's good, no doubt. And Brady Cook hasn't thrown an interception this year either. 74 completion percentage, 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions on 1,500 yards, 10.4 yards per attempt. Those are
unbelievable numbers.
If a quarter, and he hasn't done it on that much. He hasn't thrown for that much attempts either.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt, he threw it for a lot against Vandy, but other than that, it's been sub 40.
Right. And I mean, if any other quarterback was doing that in more of a national spotlight stage, we talk about Shedeur and his completion percentage and how well he's done, and Ewers, Brady Cook needs to get some love. And I mean, a lot of it's Luther Burden. He literally has half of Brady Cook's yards, but
he does.
I don't know,
he
man.
Literally has half of his yards,
which is actually crazy.
Dude, the kid's got 43 receptions, man.
Yeah, he's probably one of he's a top 3 to top 5 wide receiver in the country. I don't think you put him over Harrison. I don't think you put him, honestly.
He's not a physical specimen, but honestly, look at all the receivers that are succeeding in the NFL right now.
Yeah, Devontae Smith,
look at Nkuku,
Puka Nacua,
yeah, dude, that kid's
not kid. Yeah, and I mean, look at Jordan Addison. Even the kid's small, and he's still relatively successful. I mean, all the Devontae Smith's not very physical. You can play, anymore. The new style of receiver. You don't need to be a physical freak to be good. Obviously, the guys like AJ Brown and DK Metcalf are cool to see, but
right,
every style really works to be
Yeah.
honest. But
And we say this, we're only saying he lacks physical traits in terms of height. This dude is 208 pounds at 5'11". He is a
I
he's
mean,
a
look at
brute.
Zay. Yeah, I mean, look at Zay Flowers, freaking 5'9", and he's disgusting. So
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous, man. And Neighbors is built the same way. Pretty sure he's like 6 foot, like probably two something, probably low twos, sub 210. It's the new style receiver, like we said. And it's going to be a shootout between these two. I can't wait. But Mizzou takes the dub.
yeah,
2 touchdown favorite. Not two score favorites. I'll give them that. That's where my line's at.
yeah. I just don't like. I just don't think LSU puts up stops.
Nope.
That's the problem.
Nope. They don't stop it. Luther
And I
Burden's
think
gonna
like
be.
a guy like Theo Wees or someone else could really break out on this team too.
I just can't wait for Luther Burden to be yelling at his sideline, doing the same thing Keon Coleman was doing. Then this team finally is unranked. Because top 25, man, it's had some questionable time. It's had some questionable teams ranked in it, but this is one of the most questionable of them all.
And
Like
it's
they're
because
three
they're
and
an
two.
SEC team and
I don't care, man.
they've had relative success. I will say though, I think Jaden Daniels has been playing his ass off this year. Like he's
Absolutely. It's
yeah,
not his
like
fault.
yeah, no, I give a lot of credit to him. We were really critical of him, especially in that first game when we broke it down, and he's done nothing but like play his absolute best. And
Yeah.
there's not like honestly, I don't know if it's different than Nussmeier, to be honest. Like I think I kind of like backtrack on that take because it's not his fault why his team isn't like winning games.
No, dude. I mean, he puts up 49 against Ole Miss. 49, and his defense could literally get 0 stops.
Yeah, like that's terrible.
That's horrible, man. That's just absolutely ridiculous.
And it's like Alabama put up stops against that Ole Miss team like pretty successfully too.
Yeah, and Alabama's got a good defense.
Alabama's does have a really good defense, and we'll talk about that defense in this next matchup. But like Alabama might kill LSU when they play. Yeah, they play. And because LSU just can't stop. And I mean, I don't know, because Alabama also can't throw, but Milrow might have like a 300-yard gain just because he's able to hit deep shots everywhere.
I'd love to see it just for that kid. He's gotten a lot of hate.
Yeah.
He deserves to have a big game.
Yeah.
All right, now heading down to College Station at Kyle Field. The 12th man is gonna get to bring in Alabama and ruin their day.
Yeah.
This game is going to be very interesting.
I'll
If you're
start.
Jimbo Fisher, you got to win this game to keep your job.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'll start off with my take. I think this has really decided how good Texas A&M's defense will be. And I don't mean putting up stops. I mean, they're very reliant on sacks and turnovers and, causing big plays on the defensive side. And Alabama's offense doesn't really allow them to like create a lot of havoc in with how they just play and how they're going to continue to play throughout the rest of the season. Hopefully we'll see some more Jalen Milrow design runs because this run blocking is really good. And I don't know how physically they match up with Alabama. I think Miami's got a pretty good like physical O line, maybe not the most talented, but like Miami took care of business against the Texas A&M team in the second half. Texas A&M was able to, have a lead, compete in the first half, and then they kind of just got shut down. But Miami's also got like a really good passing attack as well. And I think that's if Texas A&M were to get beat, it's how you would beat them. And they don't. Have this Alabama team doesn't really pass the ball too effectively. They hit a couple big shots, and that's because Milrow he's got a really strong arm. He doesn't control it whatsoever, but he's got a really strong arm. But I don't know. This matchup's really interesting to me. I think.
I don't know. Yeah, keep going.
And I think whoever wins this game is going to be more efficient with the ball and, not turn it over, score in the red zone. And whoever can drive down the field more consistently will win this game. So,
yeah,
I
think keep going.
I'm taking A&M because I do think as long as Max Johnson's really prone to turning the ball over. So that concerns me a little bit because he'll fumble it. He doesn't have great ball security, and he's a little bit of a wild card quarterback. But I think that, this team can run the ball. They have stars in Stewart and then Nia Smith. They'll be fine. I think I'm going to take A&M.
Yeah. So I think I'm going A&M too, but I think the defense is the reason why A&M takes this game. I'm pretty sure A&M is actually the SEC's top rated defense. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure they are.
They cause like
Yeah,
their havoc rate, which is like sacks,
yeah,
forced fumbles,
yeah,
interceptions, like they're like
yeah, dude.
19.
Cooper and Turner are just going crazy on that
Yeah,
side. Like,
like they're just absolutely ridiculous for no
yeah, and like the freshman left tackle, the kid who's committed to Iowa, Caden Proctor, that kid's going to have his hands full with these two.
right. And I mean,
And
it's really hard being a young offensive lineman, like being able to play.
100%. And so this defense, the things they do best is get sacks and stop the run. They're averaging less than 100 yards, allowing 100 yards in the rushing attack, I believe. I think it's under. They're one of the only defenses in the SEC that's allowed that. And this team already sucks at running the football. So, in my opinion, that's what wins them this game. And like you said, receivers like Anaya Smith and Evan
Evan
Stewart,
Stewart, yeah.
they're gonna get tested. But I think both of those kids are talented enough athletes, especially Anaya Smith. I'm pretty sure he's approaching some sort of. I was just reading this, some sort of like SEC record.
He's only been there for like 18 years, so
Yeah, I mean, I think it's some like combination record of like rushing yards, return yards, and receiving yards. Like I think he's close. Like I think he only needs like 60 more receiving yards or something like that to
yeah,
break this.
it's
But yeah, he's
ridiculous.
been there forever. But I think those kids stand out. I think they show up enough in this game, but it's going to be the defense. The over under in this game is what I'm curious about. I'm trying to
Think
find.
it's like relatively low, to be
That's
honest.
what I was just about to say. It should be low because it's 46. This game will not be high scoring. It won't be your classic Alabama A&M shootout. This is going to be a low scoring defensive showdown.
It's kind of what's been other than, I mean, I guess the LSU Ole Miss game's kind of an outlier, but it's kind of how
Yeah,
SEC football has been. I mean, look at
absolutely.
Alabama's matchup 2 weeks ago against Ole Miss. Like that game, absolute dogfight. Like,
Yeah, that's what this one's going to be. It's going to be a dogfight in the trenches. Who can come out with more stops on the run and who can, get to the quarterback the most. But I think A&M continues to do what they've done best, and that is win those battles and win this football game. They're Alabama's 1 point favorite as an 11th ranked team over an unranked team for a reason. We will see that.
yes, we will. All right. One more upset pick of the week for me. Give me Marshall over NC State. NC
Academically.
State's making a change at quarterback. They're putting MJ Morris in for Brennan Armstrong because Brennan Armstrong has played like complete crap to say the least. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think there's much else to say it. Both these
no.
teams love to play in close games. Like NC State almost got upset by Virginia a couple weeks ago. They played close against UConn, and then Marshall. I mean, they played close against Old Dominion, played close against Virginia Tech. Like this is gonna be a close nitty gritty game. And
Mhm.
I mean, it's at Carter Finley too, which is a tough place to play. I mean, ask Louisville how tough it is to play there. And this game's like really going to be dependent on like who forces more turnovers, who causes the most havoc. And I think both these teams, like it's going to be an ugly game. Like the
For
the
sure.
the over under is 44.5.
Yeah,
Like,
it's gonna be.
and I mean, both these teams put up a decent amount of yards too. Like, I mean, Marshall puts up 412 and NC State puts up 345. So, and both of them like allow a decent amount of yards too. So, it's going to be a really intriguing matchup. Obviously, NC State's probably played the harder competition with playing teams like Louisville and Notre Dame that ironically play this week. Uh, but no, I really like the herd here. I mean, they just win these types of games. Like, I mean, you look at that Notre Dame game last year. Like, they just win those types of games that they're not anticipated to win, and they end up just kind of like doing it, and then they'll blow games that they're supposed to win. So, it's just kind of the Marshall way of football.
It's the group of five way of football, actually.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So for my last upset pick, I've got a Big Ten matchup, Maryland taking down Ohio State. I I am not high on Ohio State. I have not been, and I don't say that just because I'm a Michigan fan. I think there's still the same holes in this team that has been besides the defensive backs. I will say there's been an increase in that. This offensive line doesn't get to the quarterback. The defensive line doesn't get to the quarterback. The offensive line is going to allow too many sacks, and Kyle McCord just doesn't have the firepower to get it to his star receivers. And Maryland has exactly that. Talia Tagovailoa, quite honestly, my opinion, the most underrated quarterback in the country. Um, Deshaun Jones has played his heart out. This kid is averaging like 17 yards a catch. He's got 300.
I mean, I'm looking at the statistics for this receiver room right now. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys over 10 plus catches already.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's a very balanced receiving attack too.
And the kid who's leading it, Deshaun Jones, is showed up is like his stats are really good for a team that disperses the football a lot. And then Roman Hemby, the hometown kid, this kid hasn't had a great season. I think he's averaging just under 5 yards a carry. I don't think he's got a ton of yards, but I think you can run the football against this Ohio State team too. I don't think this team is all that defensively. I know
My
it's in the shoe. I know it's in the shoe,
okay.
but I think Maryland is more talented than a lot of people are giving them credit for, and Ohio State just isn't as talented as the number 4 team in the country should be. Give me the Terps.
The problem with Maryland is if you look at everyone they've played, you can argue that everyone that they've matched up against so far is a bottom half team in the country.
Sure,
And
but
I
it's
mean, you
not
could
like
say,
this team's inexperienced.
right, yeah, no, and I get what you're saying about that. It's just how high of a level can this Maryland team play to? We obviously know what they could do against inferior competition. They can put them to sleep. I mean, they had a little bit of a scare against Charlotte, but that got taken care of. It's just how high can this team rise when it needs to? And they're playing at the shoe, which if this game was at home, I think this game would be a little bit different for Maryland because they played close against this Ohio State team last year. But I don't know. Can they really run the ball against Ohio State? Their leading
I'm not
rushers
saying
out.
this team
Yeah,
is
no,
not
no.
like a above average rushing attack. I don't think that at all. But remember,
But
Talia can
they're
run too.
yeah, Talia can run, but I mean they're leading. I'm pretty sure their leading rusher and
Roman
running
Hemby.
back is only averaging like 4 point something yards per carry.
Yeah, it's just under 5, I believe.
Yeah.
4.8 if I'm going to be exact, I think.
And I mean, Ohio State was able to like do a pretty good job against one of the leading rushing attacks in the country up to that point in that game against Notre Dame. And
Maybe.
I don't see why they don't game like they're gonna take. I think Ohio State's really gonna just try to take away the pass and force this team to run the football.
Mhm.
And I
And
think
they're and you could argue that they are good at forcing teams to do that. But I just physicality, man. I don't care what Ryan Day says on national television. This team is not physical. They are not physical. You do not get home enough. You do not play
yeah,
the offensive lines that you should.
I mean I don't know. It's an interesting matchup for sure. I'm not gonna like. I think Ohio State's gonna win. That's why I didn't really pick it for an upset pick of the week. But I see where you're coming from, except for just the rushing attack thing. I think Ohio State's going to take care of that more than enough, to be honest. But I don't know because they did struggle in points of the Indiana game against Taven Jackson when he was able to get outside. So we'll see. I don't know. It just really depends on how successful they really are on offense because it's really tough. I think it's one of the better defenses in the country. And I don't think they honestly have to do too much offensively against this Maryland team.
We will see. We will see. This is why we make the upset picks because we want them to be controversial. We want them to stir conversation, and I think this one is one that can stir conversation.
Yeah. I got two more games to give a spotlight to. Do you
Okay.
have any?
I honestly not really. But go take the stage, take the
All
mic.
right, let's go to Los Angeles where UCLA versus Washington State will be playing. This game, I really want to see how Dante Moore bounces back after a game like that versus Utah, where he really couldn't do anything. And I mean, he's a young quarterback. Statistically, he doesn't have a high completion percentage. And I just really like want to see, how well, because I think this game's really good for UCLA. They're favored in this game,
I don't
which
know how. How are you
I,
favored in this game?
but I mean, they're a solid team. They do play defense. Like that's something that you got to take into account. Like they get to the quarterback a little bit, but I really think the way that this Washington State team plays and how good they are, I mean, they run a 4.25 and their DBs are like amazing. And Brennan Jackson is one of the biggest game wreckers, probably in the Pac-12 off the edge for Washington State. And I mean, Cam Ward, I talked about Brady Cook stacks. Cam Ward's like just right up there, 1,400 yards, 74 completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Like
And
that's
then this
just
is against an offense that
now.
doesn't
I
have a.
don't. I don't know if Lincoln Victor's going to be playing or not in this game because he went down in that Oregon State game, right? And
Mhm.
he was in a boot on the sideline on crutches. So I don't know how likely he is to come back. But I mean, they got other kids in this room. They're saying he's active. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
But I
This
mean,
game,
Josh
I just
Kelly and
don't
Kyle
understand.
Williams are like both, those kids are both studs as well. Like, I mean, Kyle Williams is averaging 18 yards per catch. Josh Kelly's averaging 16. Like,
Right. It's you really wonder what the heck do we not know? Dante Moore doesn't even have he doesn't have over 1,000 passing yards.
no.
Their running
I
back,
mean,
their
okay,
leading
Dante.
receiver, their
Oh,
leading running back.
but Dante Moore also hasn't really played that many games either, like starting wise.
I thought he only missed one game. I
Did
thought
he
he
only miss
did.
one? I don't know. I
Yeah,
think he
yeah.
like
They're
they've only
what?
played. I mean, 3 games.
Yeah,
You
they've played 4 games and he has.
because he started. Did he start against SDSU?
Yep.
Okay. So then yeah, he started 3 games. And I mean, one of those games, like Utah, even though they lost to Oregon State, it's one hell of a defense, especially for a young quarterback. Like, and I mean, I don't know. I just think that Washington State's gonna be able to cover down the field really well. And I mean they'll be able to play enough run defense. Like
Mhm.
they're not a great run defense whatsoever. Like look at what Oregon State was able to do with Fenwick and Martinez on the ground. But they'll stop your passing attack. So
For sure. Yeah, no, these guys, there's not a lot of firepower in this team. Both leading receiver and rusher is not even over 300 yards
yeah,
at this point in
like
the season.
that's it's a little concerning. And then the other game, Syracuse versus UNC, I think it's going to be a good game to have a little bit of your attention on. Obviously, Drake May, he's starting to pick it up a little bit after a really slow start. Tez Walker's coming back. They finally granted him eligibility, which thank God, because I really do think he's going to be a big threat for this team. North Carolina's been weird all season, and it kind of surprises me that they're still undefeated and playing like relatively well. But I mean, like other than the Appalachian State game, they've been able to win games by double digits, and I think the Appalachian State game was just like they for whatever reason they just cannot put it together against them. But I mean, Syracuse, they're running out. They don't have any receivers. Like there's a reason why Garrett Schrader's having to run so goddamn much against teams, and I think UNC I think they win by more than what the spread is. And I think I just really want to see this team dominate. Like that's something we really haven't seen this season,
Mhm.
and
For sure.
that's something I really do want to see. So we'll
Absolutely.
see. I think there's just been problems. Like McCollum was injured at the beginning. He's already at 21 receptions now, which is their leading receptions guy. And they have other guys too in Pacer and JJ Jones, but I think Tez Walker, like it's going to add so much more to a receiving threat. Both these running backs in Brooks and Hampton are also pretty good as well. And Drake's able to run it a little bit too. Like Drake, he's turned the ball over. That's really been the only problem. He's only thrown it for 132 times. I mean, they've only played 4 games, but still, like
Yeah,
this kid's supposed to be the second best quarterback in this draft behind Caleb Williams,
he's
and
not.
he's just not shown it. And I think if he really wants to pick it up, he's got to get it going in the second half of the season against Syracuse, against Miami. Like these are two good games where, I mean, these teams are like both relatively talented on the defensive side. And if they can get it going against these teams, he can put up numbers. I think things will steer in the right direction. I mean, after that, like they have three big off weeks, in my opinion, against Virginia, Georgia Tech, and Campbell. They could beat Duke, especially if Riley Leonard isn't back. Like this team could go to 12-0 and make an ACC championship if they beat Miami. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know because
that's
Clemson's a really tough game for them, but we'll see, man. This team's a lot better defensively though than what
yes,
they've been
and
in
we
the
talked about
past.
that early on when we saw them against
South
South
Carolina.
Carolina. It's yeah, they're much better defensively than they've ever been. It just sucks that Drake May's gotten off to such a slow start. But to your credit and to his credit, he is getting back into the swing of things. We're starting to see him pick up pace, and the McCollum coming back and Tej Walker, be that's huge, man.
Right.
It's huge to have those guys back for a guy like this. And I don't know. I wish him the best of luck, especially because I would hate to see him fall in this draft, even though I
Right.
don't necessarily think he will, because if you look at like everyone says Shadur's not going, so that throws a huge loop in things.
Yeah, but I mean, you still got I think Penix is probably going to be on people's draft board. So Ewers is going to be really high because of just how young he is too. And I mean,
Yeah.
we could. Who are the other quarterbacks that are going to get? Hartman. I mean, I don't know how high he is. Rattler's probably going to be really up there, to be honest.
Van Dyke's eligible.
Van Dyke's eligible. I mean, there's a lot of guys in this draft class that like quarterbacks like are going to be filled everywhere in this draft class.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cam Ward's probably going to be in there as well.
McCarthy's gonna be in there.
I forget about that bum.
Okay. Okay, buddy.
I'm just kidding. McCarthy honestly has like looked, other than that Bowling Green game, he's looked really solid this year.
He doesn't, and the best part about him is he's not gonna have that much wear and tear on him. He doesn't throw the football a ton. He doesn't have to throw the football a ton. He doesn't have to run the ball a ton, but he's been able to show his
And
abilities
he
in
plays
every facet.
like he's a really good quarterback in an NFL style offense. Like I mean,
Yeah.
in the he'll have to throw it a little bit more. And I mean,
But in my opinion, that's what he wants to do. It's what he's able to do, and he's
Michigan
one of the best
Michigan
against the
just like
pass.
they just like have a pregame talk. Hey, let us kill you, run the clock out, and we'll send you home early. And
Yeah.
like they're really slow in terms of pace. But I mean that's how they're gonna play against these teams. And I think until they really do get tested, like we're not gonna see JJ McCarthy really have to show out. But I mean, you look at the Ohio State game last year, like that he was, and even against Purdue, like he was making big time throws and making big time plays. And I think against TCU, if Harbaugh doesn't completely change up the game plan and, try like a bunch of crazy shit that like they didn't do all season, and then you try and bust it out in the biggest game that you up until that point, like they probably in the national championship game. Like,
You're cutting out, by the way.
oh, you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Yeah. But like what I was saying, like this team, like if they don't try a bunch of crazy stuff in that national championship game, like they're probably in
I
the national championship. Like,
Yeah, it for sure. I could talk about that game for hours and hours and hours. I've watched the film on it a million times. I could probably literally recite to you back exactly what every broadcaster says on every single play. Um, it's tough, man. It's tough to watch, but I think that you live and you learn from those situations. I think they learned how to play in that big stage when they played Georgia, and then they've executed decently, but still allowed some of those bigger game jitters now that they were the favorite to win in the game. Now I think they're fully prepared, and I think we're going to see them have a more balanced attack throughout this entire season. Understand also that you can't let Blake Corum get the workload that he got, because that is another huge reason as to why Jim Harbaugh kind of had to change up the game plan a little bit, because you just didn't know if Donovan Edwards was going to be able to go at the rate that he did against
I
those
don't know.
past two games.
But like he went against Ohio State and Purdue. I mean, say
Yeah,
what you
but
want about
the
those
the
teams.
whole the inside of both the inside, like inside the staff, everyone knew he had a torn patellar tendon. Everyone knew his hand was broken. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to you. There's a reason why, and for all of you that have followed Donovan Edwards for a long, long time, There's a reason why he only averaged about 15 carries in high school. And that's because, well, he tore his ACL his freshman year, and Ron Bellamy, the head coach, who's now the receiving coach at Michigan, said, "Hey, I want to preserve you for college. I want you to, be ready for that so you don't have this wear and tear and there's no, question marks on you." Jim Harbaugh's got to be thinking the same thing. This kid's NFL caliber talent. It's not giving as much carries as whatever, but I could talk about Michigan all freaking day. I don't got nothing left
Yeah.
for you.
I mean, I don't know. Also, if Kendra Miller doesn't get hurt in that TCU Michigan game, like it probably goes a little bit differently as well.
Who knows?
I mean, I don't know how well he's
A lot
doing
of
in
it,
the
a
NFL.
lot of ifs, a
Yeah,
lot of ifs,
a
man.
lot of ifs.
A lot of
I,
ifs for both sides of it.
yeah, but we're not here to talk about the past. And shout out to West
Exactly.
Virginia also beating TCU last week. Like Neil Brown's like able to do like a ton of things against that. Like like he was projected to get fired because of the new like the whole like West Virginia like athletic department's just like a complete like shit
Dumpster
show.
fire.
Yeah,
Kind of
and
like, the school down in East Lansing.
yeah, I mean their basketball team, we're
They'll be
very
there. They'll be there. They're not like
they
West Virginia's basketball team.
I mean, West Virginia's got like historically a good basketball team, but we all know what happened with Huggins over the summer, and that's why you don't drive under the influence. So,
Nope.
all right. Thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Spotify and Apple. Check out the socials. We'll have some more real content and everything coming out for you sometime in the near future. And yeah, thank you for listening.